Welcome to the programme. Tonight, a guilty verdict in the mushroom trial. Erin Patterson found to have murdered 3 relatives with death cap mushrooms. Shortly, we'll hear from our reporter in Morwell. But first, the nation was horrified last week after an alleged paedophile working in childcare was arrested in Victoria. It led to urgent debate about standards for workers in childcare centres. Tonight, Adele Ferguson continues her investigation into the childcare industry, revealing that in the push to expand the sector, too many workers qualifying too quickly, putting children's safety at risk.
Every morning, more than 1 million families drop their kids off at childcare, trusting the system will keep them safe. Most have no idea what's really going on.
It is certainly reaching crisis point.
Oh yes, it's in crisis. There are too many children in services that are not up to scratch. There are too many teachers and educators who are not well prepared.
For the past 9 months, we've been investigating how the industry got to this point, uncovering abuse, neglect and systemic failure across the sector. But there's another scandal unfolding, a decline in educator quality and training.
You need to be able to drop your child off in the morning knowing that they're going to be safe and that they're going to be sort of well educated and looked after.
Australia's childcare sector is short thousands of workers. Tonight we uncover how the gap is being filled by fast-track courses, which can put children at risk. Lynette Rick worked in childcare for 35 years and now trains and assesses educators.
We're desperate for early childhood educators. The country's desperate for them. And the only way we're going to get them through quickly is by dropping the standards. And the people that are disadvantaged are the children.
Childcare is short 21,000 workers. And for those already in the system, 1 in 4 intend to quit. To fill the gap, governments and regulators are backing fast-track courses that have little oversight or regulation.
I look at the students that come in and I think, oh my gosh, the students 10 years ago were so much more committed.
Faced with booming demand, some private operators and universities have turned accelerated childcare courses into a money spinner, sacrificing quality. Do you see a correlation between a decline in quality in education and the rise in serious incidents in centres?
Oh, absolutely.
To work in childcare, you need a qualification or be studying for one. The most common is a Certificate 3, which takes up to a year and qualifies you as an entry-level educator. A degree typically takes 4 years and qualifies you as a teacher.
It's my privilege to confer the awards to our graduates today.
One institution pushing it hard is Southern Cross University. 730 understands an estimated 6,000 students have been enrolled in its 10-month graduate diploma in the past 2 years. At $25,000 each, that's around $150 million in fees. The majority are international students, some men in their 40s and 50s, with backgrounds in fields like IT, engineering and finance, not early childhood or teaching. Insiders say a crisis is brewing at the university. Staff are leaving and students are disengaged and ill-prepared for childcare. We can't identify these whistleblowers. Some are bound by contracts, some are dealing with trauma, but they're so concerned they've chosen to speak out. And so the graduate diploma is attracting thousands of students.
We've gone from having classes with 200 students in a unit, which was considered a lot, to over 2,000 students.
It's not equipping the students. There's also no mandatory attendance.
What do you think of the quality of the course?
Very low quality.
We have access to leaked emails from Southern Cross University. Staff were directed to join phone sprints after the university enrolled so many students it couldn't keep up with the demand for childcare placements, a mandatory part of the course. One email described the situation as a significant crisis, threatening the viability of the faculty, with 400 placements needed by May and another 2,381 by July. What are you meant to do?
It's basically like the faculty turns into a call centre, and we are told that we have to ring early childhood services to secure more placements.
Staff are placed in teams and the highest scorers win a gift card. Centres are also rewarded for taking the most students. Is that unusual in academia?
Extremely.
Yeah.
Southern Cross University is based in regional New South Wales and has campuses around the country. In 2023, it bought out a private education partner and ramped up its international student intake. Fast-track courses like childcare were put on steroids, aggressively marketed through education and immigration agents.
And reliable pathway to permanent residency.
Why don't you explore the most popular course, which is Graduate Diploma of Education Early Childhood at Southern Cross University?
Now Southern Cross University is offering Graduate Diploma. Because of this course, your PR pathway will be easy.
Immigration agent Mark Glasbrook has worked in immigration for nearly 30 years and says international students are flocking to childcare courses to gain permanent residency.
It should concern every Australian that we have people coming into Australia on student visas that are studying courses just to use that pathway to get permanent residency in Australia, and they're looking after our children. And in some cases, they're not attending their classes.
Education providers are scrambling to cash in. Some are pushing low quality or even fake qualifications. Last year, the Australian Skills Quality Authority, ASQA, revoked over 21,000 fake qualifications from 4 private colleges, including nearly 2,000 childcare certificates issued to domestic and international students.
There's a lot of education providers that are set up to deliver courses that are worthless, they're useless. This is a big concern.
More recently, I've been looking at the workforce.
Dr. Marianne Fennick is a Professor of Early Childhood Education at the University of Sydney and one of the country's leading experts on quality standards in early learning. She noticed a rise in one-year graduate diplomas, the kind Sydney University refuses to offer.
Do you think childcare has become big business?
Oh, childcare's been big business for a long time. What we've seen is a dramatic shift. We've seen a shift from 4-year undergraduate programs to 1-year graduate diplomas. This is new in the teacher education space because we have a significant shortage of early childhood teachers. Employers of high quality services are telling us that the quality of graduates coming out is not what it used to be. It's not as high as it should be.
Is it also about money?
It's a cash cow for universities.
As part of the course, students must complete placements at childcare centres. 7:30 can reveal that Southern Cross University tried to place students in childcare centres that fail to meet minimum national quality standards, a rating system designed to ensure safety, education and care.
Does that alarm you?
It alarms and it upsets me.
The university even placed students in centres with the lowest quality ratings.
A service that's rated as significant improvement required means that children are at significant risk of harm. I can't imagine how that could properly prepare them to be an effective teacher.
New South Wales Greens politician Abigail Boyd has been working with us to secure secret departmental documents from the regulator.
How on earth is it giving those students any kind of good education? Like that strikes me as just absurd.
Some centres are having to remove some of the students during their placements. This is what is being documented.
So we're talking about Unwanted contact with children, including cuddling children who didn't want it, rubbing chest, lifting a child's dress.
Have said they don't need to engage in any learning and only here to get their visa.
He didn't understand the policies, he didn't do his observations, and I found him in the centre playing computer games instead of doing his work.
A student was trying to take children away into a private space unsupervised, and when that was queried by the educators, apparently that happened again.
I've been speaking to insiders, current and former staff, assessors, contractors and educators who are all deeply concerned.
The students are completely ill-equipped. To describe graduate diploma graduates from this course as qualified professionals is, quite frankly, insulting to skilled, passionate early childhood teachers. Many of the students, when they graduate, don't have basic understandings of child safety, identifying risk, mandatory reporting.
In the past year, the National Higher Education Regulator, TEQSA, has received a series of complaints from staff and students about Southern Cross University's early education courses. TEQSA has launched a probe. It said live compliance processes were initiated earlier this year, and the findings would inform a separate review of the university's re-registration. Southern Cross University declined 730's interview request and did not respond to detailed questions about enrolment numbers, staff turnover, student distress, or course quality and placement issues. In a statement, it said the graduate diploma is a rigorous, high-quality program, attracting strong interest, and that it's fully accredited by TEQSA and ASIQA.
Is education something you would be looking at in your parliamentary inquiry?
We absolutely will be looking into education and educational standards in our inquiry.
It's not just experts saying childcare and the quality of education across the sector is in crisis. We have internal documents which prove it. Thousands of damning pages from the New South Wales regulator. Educators not understanding safe sleep practices for babies, not reporting serious incidents to families, kids left alone, even educators falling asleep. And when the most basic standards aren't met, it puts child safety at risk.
It paints this picture of a sector where when terrible things happen, it's easily traced back to people who just don't know what they're doing. It's very, very concerning.
Nothing prepared Joseph Marigold for the call to tell him his 16-month-old daughter, Ariana, had been found unresponsive at a Sydney childcare centre in 2018.
I was told that we have found Ariana unresponsive and we're currently performing CPR.
Ariana was taken to hospital and pronounced dead. Since then, Joseph has been trying to get answers.
We had to get a legal team to work with us to start finding out what has happened to her.
On paper, the centre's sleep policy exceeded the national benchmark set by Red Nose Australia. Sleep checks every 10 to 15 minutes.
And what actually was going on?
Far from checking 10 minutes. Ariana was left alone from 9 o'clock for a period of 50 minutes, 56 minutes, sometimes over an hour without any checks. And they, to my best knowledge and understanding, those time frame were not physical check. They were checking it from the CCTV cameras as well.
Joseph later discovered the centre's sleep practices had been flagged years earlier by a regulator who noted sleep checks were being done via a screen rather than physical checks.
Our life was shattered and our family was broken. For us to know, not only the department knew about the sleep check.
Do you believe poorly trained staff contributed to this tragedy?
Absolutely. Some of these trainers, they're very young. How do they know what is the correct policy or procedures to rewire a child that is not, it's not responding? How do they make the decision of walking into the room to check physically on the breathing pattern of the kids? These are a very crucial points that any educator needs to be aware of it.
Ariana's autopsy was inconclusive and the cause of death was recorded as unascertained.
We're still fighting to find the answers. It's been 7 years and counting.
The centre and its owner were found guilty of 13 charges in 2022, including failing to appropriately supervise children and protect them from harm. None of the charges related directly to Ariana's death.
The system, the industry needs an overhaul entirely, so we can show that our kids going to these centres are safe.
Major safety issues occur frequently. Experts say inadequate training and poor supervision is driving a sharp rise in serious incidents. More than 26,000 cases last year alone, up 27% in 3 years. That's 72 serious incidents a day, including injuries, ambulance call-outs and missing children.
If you judge a society by the way we treat our children, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves.
We have a Prime Minister who is wanting to leave a legacy of 3 years universal access for young children. They need universal access to high quality early childhood education. We don't want a system where we just hothouse children in services so their parents can go to work.
Why have you decided to speak up?
Because I've had enough.
Children deserve better.
We have been destroyed by the childcare centre industry. Our life has been destroyed. My son was going to a preschool last year. My wife, for 12 months, was sitting in a car park watching him every second he was in that preschool. So that tells the story about trust. They've taken everything from us.
To regional Victoria now and the town of Morwell, which played host to a trial that's been watched around the world. Today, a jury found Erin Patterson guilty of 3 counts of murder after she fed her lunch guests beef Wellingtons laced with death cap mushrooms. Mike Lorrigan was in the courtroom.
For much of the past week, there's been an air of tension around the Latrobe Valley Law Courts, as lawyers and the media anxiously waited for a verdict in a criminal case which has captured international attention and leapt into the zeitgeist.
Do you know what our hit time is, Tim?
So they've been sequestered, so that means they're not going home, they're being put up in a hotel.
In just the last 5 minutes, we've been alerted by the Supreme Court that a note has been passed to it by the jury. There has been no questions up to this point. We've been told the jury has now reached a verdict. The jury has reached this point after sitting through the testimony of more than 50 witnesses, hearing the arguments from both the prosecution and the defence. Now it has come to a decision on whether or not Erin Patterson deliberately poisoned her former relatives. With no cameras allowed inside courtroom 4, news of the verdict quickly found its way outside.
The verdict is in and the jury has found Erin Patterson guilty on all charges.
Guilty of the murder of Don as well.
The jury have found that she is in fact a triple murderer.
jury of 12, 7 men and 5 women, have found the mother of 2 guilty of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. This was an extraordinary moment inside the courtroom. Erin Patterson was sitting at the rear of the courtroom, flanked by 2 guards, and she was emotionless while each of the 4 verdicts were read out. The family members of her victims were not there in court to see her taken away in custody.
I'd just like to acknowledge the decision of the jury today, and I'd also like to acknowledge the investigators that have worked on this investigation since July 2023 right through to today. At her home in Leongatha in late July 2023, Erin Patterson invited her estranged husband Simon's parents, Don and Gail Patterson, over for lunch, as well as his aunt and uncle, Heather and Ian Wilkinson. Simon declined the invite. On the menu was a meal consisting of beans, mash and individual beef Wellingtons containing poisonous death cap mushrooms. Within 12 hours, her 4 lunch guests fell gravely ill. Within a week, Don, Gail and Heather died, but only Ian, the pastor at Corumburra Baptist Church, survived.
It was just really unusual that you would have potentially multiple people dying from a poisoning event at a home in country Victoria. That was unusual, but it took probably 48 hours for police to come out and then name Erin Patterson as a suspect. That's when it really took off.
John Ferguson is the journalist who broke the story in 2023. Erin Patterson was arrested in November of the same year.
In terms of the jury, it's all around the lies. Basically, there were so many of them.
The Crown, led by prosecutor Dr. Nanette Rogers, established Erin Patterson deceived her former relatives by hiding death cap mushrooms in the meal, lying to them about having cancer before engaging in a sustained cover-up afterwards.
She lied in the police record of interview on August 5, 2023. She lied about saying she'd never foraged for mushrooms and that she'd never owned a food dehydrator, which she'd used then to distill the death cap mushrooms, to put in the paste in the beef Wellington to kill her guests. I mean, this is a really brutal crime full of intent.
The day after the lunch, while 4 of her guests were gravely ill and fighting for their lives in hospital, Erin Patterson claimed she too was unwell with gastro. But CCTV captured at a service station the day after shows her entering the toilet for just a few seconds before browsing the food on offer. Amongst the trial exhibits released late today was CCTV vision from Leongatha Hospital 2 days after the lunch. Erin Patterson is seen attempting to leave the hospital after being told that her guests had become gravely ill and she may need urgent medical care. Also released were photos of Erin Patterson dumping a dehydrator which tested positive for traces of death cap mushrooms. Erin Patterson maintained throughout the trial the poisonings were an accident, telling the court there was a chance she mistakenly picked death caps while foraging for wild mushrooms and unknowingly put them in the meal alongside other dried mushrooms she kept in her pantry. The prosecution did not argue a motive in this case. Erin Patterson told the jury she had a loving relationship with her former relatives and had every reason not to kill them. Ultimately, the jury rejected her version of events.
I think it's very important that we remember that we've had 3 people. 3 people have died, and we've had a person that nearly died and was seriously injured as a result, and that has led to these charges. I ask that we acknowledge those people and not forget them.
7:30 understands both the Patterson and Wilkinson families made a collective decision not to attend court for the verdict. Both families have maintained a dignified silence since they lost their loved ones in July 2023, some, including Ian Wilkinson, turning up to court almost every day throughout the more than 2.5-month trial. Erin's main support in the court, her power of attorney Alison Pryor, was mobbed moments after the verdict was handed down.
How are you feeling? I'm saddened, and it is what it is.
Mr. Mandy, have you got a reaction to that verdict? Her legal team, led by barristers Colin Mandy and Sophie Stafford and solicitor Bill Doog, said little outside court.
Mr Doog, do you have a reaction to that verdict?
It's not appropriate, really, to say anything now.
It's almost a Shakespearean element to it, of using a very, very old-fashioned means to dispatch off family. I mean, she really wreaked havoc in amongst a bunch of really decent people.
The wall-to-wall coverage of the court proceedings has introduced to the masses dozens of witnesses and experts who previously lived in relative anonymity. Two small towns in Gippsland now synonymous with this unprecedented case, and two families forever changed by lunch at Erin Patterson's house.
She will spend a lot of time in jail. She may never get out.
Now to the Northern Territory, where in 2019 a police officer fatally shot an Aboriginal teenager during a botched arrest. Today, the Northern Territory coroner handed down the findings of her inquest, saying the officer was racist and that the NT police bore the hallmarks of institutional racism. As you'll hear, the coroner referenced strong racist and offensive language used by police. Rhiannon Shine reports this story, which includes an image of Kumanjayi Walker and footage from the night he died.
On the edge of the Tanami Desert, amid the rugged beauty of Australia's Red Centre, there's a small town with a deep and permanent scar. Today, the Yuendumu community is gathering in the hope of healing. Coroner Elizabeth Armitage travelling here to Warlpiri country to deliver her findings.
My task has been to find the truth as best I can about the circumstances of Kumanjayi's passing.
It was the 9th of November 2019. Police from the Alice Springs Immediate Response Team set out to arrest 19-year-old Kumanjayi Walker for breaching bail and for threatening police with an axe 3 days earlier.
You want to watch here? And I'll check here.
When Constable Zachary Rolfe and his partner find the teenager, he initially gives a fake name.
Hey mate, what's your name? Stop mate, we're just asking you a question. No need to keep walking. Vernon. Vernon who? Dixon.
A struggle ensues and Kumanjayi pulls out a small pair of scissors and stabs Mr Rolfe in the shoulder, causing a minor injury.
Stop it, mate.
Mr Rolfe then shoots him. Once in the back and twice in the chest. Police then took Kumanjayi to the Yuendumu police station. Family and friends waited outside for hours, unsure if Kumanjayi was alive.
All we're asking is to know if he's okay, but no, I think they're not telling us anything.
They were not told he had died until the early morning, around 8 hours after he had stopped breathing.
We got the news that he passed away.
Coroner Armitage found Kumanjayi's death was avoidable and that local Yuendumu police had a better plan for Kumanjayi's arrest, which was supposed to be carried out early the next morning and involve officers who knew him.
Senior police involved in the development of the plan never anticipated that Mr Rolfe would jettison the plan and substitute his own vastly inferior approach.
A 2022 murder trial acquitted Zachary Rolfe of all charges related to Kumanjayi Walker's death.
Obviously, I think that was the right decision to make, but a lot of people are hurting today, Kumanjayi's family and his community, and didn't need to get to this point, so I'm going to leave this space for them.
It's another sad day. I just say, when we are going to get justice? When?
But the subsequent inquest into Kumanjayi's death had a much broader scope, including examining the culture inside the NT police force.
I found that Mr Rolfe was racist and that he worked in and was the beneficiary of an organisation with hallmarks of institutional racism.
The inquest examined text messages sent between NT police members using racist terms, including the N-word. In one exchange, Mr Rolfe said he had a licence to towel locals.
It was shocking on the one hand, but it wasn't, because it's what we know, that racism and systemic racism is endemic in policing.
The inquest was shown Mr Rolfe's body-worn footage from several other incidents, including this one with a 14-year-old boy. He also recorded some videos on his phone to watch back later.
Get 'em, boys. Bullets. Oh, bullets.
He found combat situations exhilarating and had an interest in adrenaline-style policing.
Zachary Rolfe initially resisted giving evidence to the inquest.
Morning, Mr Rolfe. How are you feeling about giving evidence today?
But when he eventually did appear, he dropped a bombshell, telling the coroner that racist language was normalised within NT Police, and revealing the elite TRG unit had an annual joke prize known as the Nugada Award, or the Coon of the Year Award, handed out for outstanding lack of excellence. This revelation was later interrogated with Mr Rolfe's former colleague, Sergeant Lee Bowens.
They were jokes.
Can you explain how the joke works? What's the link between outstanding lack of excellence and Aboriginal people?
The joke obviously is not a joke that everybody would associate with, as we all do different things and we all work in different fields. It's probably what we referred to as dark humour.
I found that racist language and actions were not confined to Mr Rolfe, and this was not a case of one bad apple.
Zachary Rolfe was dismissed from the NT Police in 2023 over an open letter he published criticising the force.
Sadly, the findings of the...
Coroner Armitage made 32 recommendations, including that NT Police improves how complaints and internal investigations are managed. In a statement responding to the findings, NT Police outlined several steps that had already been taken since the inquest started, including developing an anti-racism strategy. The North Australian Aboriginal Justice Agency is calling for an independent body to investigate complaints made against police.
Deaths in custody are continuing in the Northern Territory. There are too many. The police response to that is still a work in progress.
Walpurgis elder Warren Williams, whose relative Kumanjai White died in police custody in May, says these deaths must lead to a better understanding between Yapa, Indigenous people, and Kadja, non-Indigenous.
We'd like to see better policing in the community. We'd like to have better understanding between Yapa and Kadja, especially in the police force. You know, we've got to make our community better if we have that friendship.
That's the programme for this evening. Thank you very much for your company. Good night.